You've been lied to. They told you fear is normal, that it protects you, that it keeps you safe. But I'm here to tell you something different. Fear is not your protector. It's your jailer. And the key to that cage, it's already in your hands. You just haven't used it yet. This message, it's not advice. This is not motivation. This is not some feel-good speech for you to scroll past. This is a reset, a realignment, a decision. Today I want you to see yourself without that weight, without the chains, without the hesitation. Because fear isn't outside of you, it's inside. And if it's inside, then you can destroy it from the inside. You don't need permission. You need intention. And every second you delay, that fear gets stronger. So you either step up now, or you stay exactly where you are. No movement, no evolution, no purpose. I didn't become the youngest heavyweight champion of the world by negotiating with fear. I didn't wait for it to leave. I stepped through it. I looked it in the eye and I broke it. And I want you to understand something right now. Fear dies in the presence of purpose. But only if you refuse to blink. Only if you refuse to beg. Only if you train your mind like a weapon. Because that's what this is about. Not muscle, not hype. Mental steel. Mental fire. Mental control. This is a war of will. And willpower is forged in discomfort. It's shaped in discipline. You're not here to survive. You're here to command. So when I say destroy fear forever, I'm not talking about some miracle, overnight change. I'm talking about building a mind that doesn't flinch, a mind that doesn't break, a mind that doesn't run. And if you're still listening, it means something inside you is ready. Ready to burn the old version, ready to kill the hesitation, ready to switch. This is the moment, this is the switch, and you never come back from it. I train in silence, I move with purpose. Fear bows when discipline stands. You don't step into a ring with hope. You step in with war. Every morning, before I threw my first punch, I was already fighting. Not the man in front of me, the voices inside. The voice that said, slow down, take it easy, you've done enough. That voice is your real opponent, and it never sleeps. You want to destroy fear. You build a mind that hunts it. You train like you're preparing for a war you can't afford to lose. Because that's what life is. A fight you didn't ask for, but you're already in it. So you better start swinging. They want you soft, distracted, entertained. They want you scrolling while your destiny gets colder by the hour. That's the system. But your fight, your real fight, is against the weakness that's been fed into your mind since birth. You weren't born soft. You were trained to be soft. But you can retrain. You can unlearn. You can forge something. Terrifying. Not to the world, but to your excuses. When I was 13, I was already in the ring with grown men. I didn't have time for fear. I didn't have time for options. It was me or the mat. And that mentality, that raw, savage clarity, it doesn't come from comfort. It comes from choosing pain every day, choosing structure, choosing to bleed in practice so you don't fall in battle. You think discipline is punishment? No. Discipline is freedom. Discipline is a weapon. You build it, you sharpen it, and when life tries to knock you out, you don't fall. You smile. Because you've already been through worse. You built worse. Listen close. Fear doesn't fade on its own. Doubt doesn't retire quietly. You have to break it. You have to wake up before the sun. Train when your body screams no. Study when your brain wants rest. And move forward when everything tells you to retreat. That's the mindset of a fighter. That's the Tyson switch. You don't flinch. You don't wait. You don't ask. You decide. You do. You dominate. Every punch I threw came from my mind first. I visualized impact. I visualized fear in their eyes. I visualized myself walking through them like a storm. And then I made it real. You want to destroy fear forever? You don't talk about it. You don't write it on a vision board. You become the man that fear avoids. You become the man that walks into the fire without blinking. And don't confuse aggression with chaos. Controlled rage, that's the secret. Cold fire, calm storm. That's what wins fights. That's what wins life. You're not here to be accepted. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be unshakable. You're here to walk different, think different, act different. You're not like them. You never were. They go around fear. You go through it. They beg for motivation. You build it in silence. They break under pressure. You become pressure. This mentality, it's not a phase. It's not a costume you wear on Mondays and forget on Fridays. It's identity. It's breath. It's bone. If your routine doesn't scare your old self, it's not a fight yet. Push harder. Move faster. Eliminate comfort. You want the Tyson mind? Then erase the plan B. Delete the escape hatch. Burn the what if it goes wrong, and tattoo I make it right into your thoughts. That's how you switch. That's how fear dies. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you win. Every time you push one more rep, one more hour, one more second, you win. And every time you refuse to quit, even when quitting would be easier, you win the fight before the fight. This is where it begins. Not in the ring, but in the mind. You train here. You bleed here. You win here. I don't fear the storm. I become it. My mind throws the first punch. Look in the mirror. That's your opponent. Not the economy, not your boss, not the system. The man in the mirror. The one who hits snooze. The one who eats without hunger. The one who scrolls when he should be building. That version of you, he has to die. You don't transform by fighting the world. You transform by fighting yourself. There's a war happening inside you. Every day. Every hour. A war between the man you were and the man you're meant to be. And only one survives. Only one walks out. You want to destroy fear? Start by recognizing that fear is just your weaker self trying to stay alive. It speaks in your voice. It sounds logical. It sounds safe. But it's poison. A slow poison that kills your edge, your hunger, your dominance. You think this is about motivation? No. This is about execution. The weak version of you. He hesitates. He overthinks. He waits for the right moment. But the real you, the buried one, the one forged in silence, he acts. He decides. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't negotiate with delay. I know that war. I've lived it. I've seen the soft voice trying to seduce me back to comfort. And I crushed it. I buried it under miles of discipline, under sweat, under repetition. That's how I became Mike Tyson. Not by talent, not by luck. By killing the boy inside who wanted peace and waking the man who wanted purpose. You don't rise by being balanced. You rise by going to war with your habits. By stripping out what weakens you, not just once, but daily. This war is not won in a single battle. It's won in hundreds of small choices when nobody's watching, and most men lose. Because they love the version of themselves that lets them stay small. But that version, he's not loyal. He doesn't care about your future. He just wants to feel good right now. Let me tell you something brutal. Your potential and your comfort can't live in the same room. One has to go. One has to starve. You can't serve both. Either you build the identity of a man on a mission, or you remain a memory of who you could have been. Every time you hit the gym when your body says no, you're taking ground from the enemy inside. Every time you wake up before dawn, push through silence, resist distraction. You're winning this war. Every time you say no to the comfort that used to own you, you're stabbing the weakness that held you hostage. This isn't glamorous. It's raw, it's lonely, it's relentless. But that's what warriors live for. Not applause, not validation, but victory. Silent, personal, real victory. And the truth is, you already know what needs to die inside you. That behavior, that delay, that voice. You hear it every night before you fall asleep. You feel it every time you walk past the mirror. Stop pretending you don't know. You do know. You've always known. So make the choice. Not tomorrow, not Monday, now. Starve the boy, feed the beast, burn the script, build the switch. You're not supposed to feel ready. You're supposed to feel resistance and do it anyway. That's the difference. That's the cut. That's the line between average and savage. This war inside of you, it's not personal. It's necessary. Because comfort creates cowards, but pressure creates kings. So hear this again. You don't rise by luck. You rise by execution. Relentless, violent execution of your old self. This is the battlefield. These are the rules. No more soft mornings, no more easy choices. From now on, you act like your future depends on your present, because it does. I kill weakness with discipline. I destroy hesitation with decision. I don't wait for strength. I become it. You want strength? You want clarity? You want to become the kind of man that fear avoids and failure respects? Then understand this. Growth doesn't happen in the light. It doesn't happen in applause. It happens in the dark, in the silence, in the grind that nobody claps for. You've been taught to chase validation, to post everything, to share every move. But the real warriors, the real beasts, they disappear. They isolate. They vanish from the crowd and emerge months later with sharper eyes, stronger backs, and minds made of granite. I didn't grow in front of the cameras. I grew in the silence of repetition. I grew while the world slept. While others laughed, I studied. While others posted, I practiced. While they chased attention, I chased pain, and I made it mine. Let me be clear. Isolation is not loneliness. It's a weapon. It's a tool. It's the forge. The place where the noise stops and the real voice, your voice, comes alive. Most men never hear that voice because they're too busy being loud, too busy being seen. But power doesn't need to be seen. Power doesn't scream. Power moves in silence. You think being alone is weakness? No. Needing constant company, needing to be liked, needing noise, that's weakness. That's dependence. But when you can sit with yourself, with no music, no screen, no applause, and still grind, you become untouchable. This is what I learned early. The crowd doesn't care about your destiny. They'll cheer when you win, but they won't help you train. That's your job. That's your burden. That's your test. And every day you choose solitude over distraction, you pass it. They'll call you obsessed. They'll say, "You've changed." And they're right. You must change. You must harden. You must separate from the version of yourself that needed permission, needed encouragement, needed eyes on him to keep moving. That version dies in isolation. And what rises? That's the man you were always meant to be. In isolation, you sharpen everything. Your body, your focus, your purpose. You remove what's weak, what's fake, what's noisy, and you replace it with steel, with silence, with intention. You want to destroy fear forever? Stop asking the world for approval. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Go dark, go quiet, lock the door and go to war. Every rep, every second, every step, logged in private, revealed in power. You think I cared what people thought of me while I was training in Catskill? No. I was locked in. Hours of movement, hours of visualization, hours of self-inflicted suffering. Not because it was fun, but because it was necessary. This is the truth most won't tell you. The real switch doesn't happen in public. It happens at 4 a.m. when your body is breaking and your mind whispers, "Why?" And you whisper back, "Because I'm not done." That's isolation. That's where legends are made. The man you're becoming, he doesn't need an audience. He needs a schedule. He needs friction. He needs silence. You want to become the storm? Train like nobody's watching. Bleed like nobody's applauding. Win like nobody believed in you. Because here's the deal. When you emerge from the darkness, no one will recognize you. And that's good. You're not here to be recognizable. You're here to be unshakable. You're here to be feared by your former self. So go quiet. Go deep. Embrace the isolation. Not as punishment, but as preparation. Because the loudest men, they're empty. But the silent ones, the disciplined ones, they're deadly. You train alone. You suffer alone. You rise alone. And one day when the world sees who you've become, they'll think it was sudden. They'll think it was luck. But you'll know. You'll know every ounce of it was earned in silence. I disappear to build. I rise without warning. Silence is my training ground. Isolation is my weapon. Everybody talks about victory, but real power is getting back up after everything's been taken from you. After the world writes your ending, and you write a new chapter with your blood. Comebacks don't happen with noise. They happen with decisions, with scars, with nights nobody sees. I lost everything. The belts, the money, the respect. I hit the canvas in front of the world and they laughed. They said, "He's finished." They said, "He's done." And maybe I was. But the thing about being down, you get to choose what comes next. And I chose war. I chose silence. I chose to walk through the fire and come back forged. That's what this part is about. Not staying undefeated. That's fantasy. This is about rising after defeat, choosing to rise, over and over, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. When you fail, the world wants you to break. They want you to fold. But you're different. You're not here for approval. You're not here for comfort. You're here to reclaim, to rebuild. Pain doesn't mean it's over. Pain means you're still alive. It means you've still got skin in the fight. And that pain, if you use it, becomes fuel. You don't bury it. You don't run from it. You look it in the face and you own it. That's the comeback code. You stop blaming. You stop explaining. You stop waiting. You build again. You wake up with the same fire that built the old version. But now you add wisdom. You add clarity. You add control. They saw the knockouts. They didn't see the hours. They didn't see the rebuild. But I did. I lived it. And you will too. Because everything that broke you, that betrayal, that collapse, that moment you thought would end you, it's not a curse. It's the crucible. You want to destroy fear forever. Learn to rise when nobody believes you will. Learn to rise without being asked. Learn to rise when your legs are gone, your heart is bleeding, and your name is dirt. Because that's how you take your power back. Your story doesn't end in the loss. It begins there. That's the Tyson switch. That's the shift. When you stop pretending, stop performing, and start rebuilding. Not out of ego, out of necessity. Let them doubt you. Let them talk. While they speak, you sharpen. While they judge, you move. While they rest, you rise. A comeback isn't public, it's personal. It's made in the dark, repeated in silence, and revealed in power. You don't need applause. You need reasons. You don't need followers. You need fire. So remember this. Every champion has fallen. Every warrior has cracked. What separates the forgotten from the feared is the decision to come back with something deeper, something cleaner, something undeniable. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be persistent. You don't need the crowd. You need the code. And the code is simple. Fall, rise stronger. Break, rebuild sharper. Lose, return wiser. This isn't theory. It's blood-tested. You want to become unbreakable? Then first, you have to break, and then you do the work. You lift yourself. You crawl through the silence. You punch through every voice that says you can't. Because they don't know what you carry. They don't know what you've seen. But you do. You carry the code, the comeback code. So when life knocks you out, you don't panic. You smile. Because you've been here before. And this time, you know exactly who you are. I rise with scars. I return with purpose. My comeback isn't loud. It's final. You want to change your life? Don't start with a goal. Start with a routine. Because goals are dreams with deadlines. But routines are identity. They're what separate the beast from the believer. Everybody says they want greatness. Few are willing to repeat it. Daily. Silently. Ruthlessly. When I was in my prime, every hour had a purpose. Wake, run, stretch, train, eat, shadowbox, spar, recover, study, repeat. That wasn't motivation. That was ritual. That was war. That was sacrifice in slow motion. Routines build monsters. Routines kill weakness. Because every time you repeat a discipline, you're voting for the man you're becoming. And most men? They don't vote often enough. They train on Mondays and rest on dreams. But a beast doesn't miss. He doesn't skip. He doesn't ask how he feels. He executes. That's the Tyson rhythm. Wake before the world. Train before the doubt. Move before the mind talks you out of it. You think greatness happens by chance? No. It happens by checklist. You build the day before the day builds you. And you own the hours before they own you. I never let a sunrise catch me sleeping. Not because I was chasing something, but because I was something. I was purpose in motion, fire in rhythm. Your morning matters. Your silence matters. Your repetitions matter. What you do in the dark, that's who you are. So if your routine is sloppy, your life will echo that. But if your routine is sharp, disciplined, intentional, then everything changes. And it's not just about training. It's about everything. How you walk, how you eat, how you breathe. I approached everything like it was part of the fight, because it was. Visualization, repetition, gratitude, stillness, movement, silence. These aren't soft, they're sacred. When you treat your routine like prayer, you stop needing outside noise. You build an internal engine that doesn't stall. Every day, I saw myself winning. I saw my hand raised. I saw the fear in my opponent. And then I trained like it was already done. That's the loop. That's the code. You don't hope. You install. Install your standards. Install your mindset. Install your habits. The weak man waits for momentum. The beast creates it. The beast doesn't need the right weather, the right music, the right mood. The beast moves anyway. You want to destroy fear forever? Then give it no room to breathe. Pack your day so full of purpose that fear runs out of air. You want to erase doubt? Drown it in action, not random movement. Disciplined, repeated, sacred movement. Even on rest days, I was active. Even on dark days, I found light. Because it wasn't about the calendar. It was about the covenant, the commitment, the code. They called it obsession. I called it oxygen. Without it, I suffocated. Without it, I became like them, lazy, loud, lost. You don't need motivation. You need alignment between who you say you are and how you move every day. The mirror doesn't lie. Neither does your schedule. So here's the truth. You are your rituals. You are your repetitions. You are your silence. You are your scars. And if you want to live like a king, you train like a servant. You serve the discipline. You worship the routine. This isn't about hype. This is about hell. The private hell where greatness is born. In early mornings, in cold showers, in clean eating, in books instead of noise, in discipline instead of drama. Your daily ritual is your declaration of war, of identity, of faith in who you're becoming. So build one that scares your old self. Build one that makes comfort cry. I move before the world wakes. I train before fear speaks. My ritual is my armor. My habits are my prayers. You made it this far, and that means one thing. The old version of you is already fading. He's not gone yet, but he's losing. Every second you listen, every second you absorb this, you're stepping into something deeper, something unshakable. You came here thinking this was a video, a motivational clip. Maybe you thought you'd get a quote, a spark, something to hype you up for the day. But this wasn't hype. This wasn't noise. This was the mirror, the fire. The final line between who you were and who you're becoming. Because now, there's no going back. You've seen the war inside. You've seen the discipline required. You've tasted the silence where power lives. And if you forget it tomorrow, if you pretend it didn't hit you, you'll feel it. You'll feel the tension between your new identity and your old comfort. And that tension, that's how you'll know this worked. See, the switch doesn't scream. It clicks. Quiet, final, permanent. You don't announce it to the world. You just move different. You walk like a man who's been to hell and came back with a blueprint. You speak less. You train more. You react slower. You decide faster. Because now fear doesn't run you. You run your schedule. You run your silence. You run your identity. I'm not asking you to believe in yourself. I'm asking you to become the kind of man that doesn't need belief, because he has action, because he has pattern, because he has proof. You're not soft anymore. You're not searching anymore. You're building, quietly, daily, relentlessly. And people will notice. They'll say, "You've changed." And your answer is simple. "I was supposed to." They'll say you're distant. Good. They weren't meant to. Go where you're going. They'll say you're obsessed. Good. Purpose requires obsession. You don't owe the world explanations. You owe your future results. You don't argue with your past. You replace it with movement, with focus, with a daily identity that aligns with everything you were born to become. So this is it, the final piece, the final question. From this moment forward, who are you? You're not a man who waits. You're not a man who watches. You're not a man who blames, doubts, or drifts. You're the man who executes. You're the man who moves in silence. You're the man who doesn't flinch. And every morning you wake up, you remind yourself, not with quotes, but with motion, with pain, with precision. You don't survive life. You command it. You don't fear the days. You build them. You don't bow to the past. You burn it. Everything from this point forward must come from identity, not feeling, not hype, not pressure. Identity. You train because that's who you are. You rise early because that's who you are. You shut out the noise because that's who you are. You say no to weakness because that's who you are. Let them scroll. Let them fade. You're not in the crowd anymore. You're in the arena. You walk different now. You speak different. You breathe different. Because you know who you are. You earned it in silence. You forged it in repetition. You lived it in war. You carry scars, not excuses. You carry structure, not noise. You carry purpose, not potential. From this day on, you move with weight, with power, with presence. Not because you're better than them, but because you're finally loyal to yourself. So close this screen, lace your shoes, prepare your schedule, face your enemies, the inner ones, and move through them like you were built for this. Because you were. I don't return to who
I was. I rise as who I chose to become. I am not afraid. I am aligned. I am active. I am absolute. So what now? Are you going to scroll back to your old self, or step into the ring as the man you were meant to be?